Hey guys, my name is Jason with S&J Forest Products. And in today's video, I'm at a little different location than I'm usually at. We're going to try a little experiment today. I've got all these black walnuts here in these buckets. We're going to go try and plant them out in this field and see if we can get some black walnuts growing. Now here's kind of what we got to work with. And I'm sure a lot of you guys are just aghast at all this grass that we're going to be planting in today. But it's the end of October, early November. I've got all these black walnuts that I collected, and I'm just going to take a section out there, maybe 5 foot square, and just put like 30 walnuts in there and just plant them. I'm going to stake them where they are, and then we can come back in the spring and see if they germinated and come up. So my whole goal here is I'm going to try and grow Veneer quality black walnut trees. And there's a guy by the name of John Kelsey, and I have learned a lot from him. And I got to do a big shout out to John. Thank you, John, for all the information you're sharing with us. He's back in West Virginia, and he has been working on, over the last 20 or 30 years, a way to grow Veneer quality black walnuts. And so I'm going to talk about it a little bit today as we're out planting and kind of give you the rundown on how he does it and his theories. And we'll see if in 50 years I can have some good Veneer quality black walnut stems as well. For those of you who aren't familiar with black walnuts, this is what they look like off the tree. I just collected these off the ground. They have this big mushy husk on them. But once you get down into that husk, there's a walnut in there. And apparently it doesn't really matter if you dehusk them or not. Leave me a comment down below if you think it matters. But I'm just gonna poke a hole in the ground, shove these down about 2 or 3 inches, and see what comes up this spring. The one thing about these black walnuts is they turn your fingers all black and brown and nasty. But we're gonna poke holes in the ground and just shove these things in there, stomp on them, and keep going. All right, well, we'll try and show you what we're doing here. We just kind of come out and pick a spot in the field. We have these little pointed things I made for planting plugs, actually. And we're doing 6 across and 4 rows. So we're doing 24 seeds per plot here. And I come along and I can just shove the seed down this hole. We're planting about 2 or 3 inches deep, 1 to 2 inches deep. And then I can come along with my poker and I just poke it down to the bottom of the hole. Just like that. Kind of stomp on it, push all that down. And then, like I say, we're doing 24 per plot. So we'll get this one filled in. I put a stake there. And looking back out across the field, you can see stake, stake, and a stake. So we got 3 plots going. And across this field, there's a bunch of different kind of microclimates. Over here, it's a little more wet. See the difference in grass. Up there, it's a little higher, so not as wet. So I'm going across this field and trying 2 or 3 different spots of each type of environment to plant. Here's another little wet spot here. It's really wet back down over here. So I don't even think I'm going to try a test plot down there. But the whole goal here is just to figure out if we can get these things to germinate. Germinate in the tall grass, germinate in the mess we got going here. And if we can get them to germinate like this, then we can come back and plant them every, however, what kind of spacing we want. So if we can get them to germinate like this and get some pretty good germination rates, then it should be fairly easy planting once we want to get our nut orchard going. And there we go. There's our post marking our spot. There's 24 black walnuts around that post. So we'll come back in the spring and see what we got for germination. Well, we're over on that little wet spot, that real wetland spot down in the corner. And the stuff behind me is called reed canary grass. And it's terribly invasive here. It likes to grow in the real wet areas. And one of my goals, both down at Skagit and up here, is to get rid of this reed canary grass by shading it out. But this is, like I mentioned earlier in the video, a real wet spot on the property. So I'm going to try a plot here with black walnuts. I don't know if they're going to do very well, but this is, it takes 10 minutes to come out here and plunk 24 walnut seeds in the ground. So we'll give it a shot. What my understanding is black walnuts really like deep, moist soils. They grow on kind of river benches up near rivers back in the Midwest and in the East. Out here, I think they can tolerate some of this. We're in a big, huge river floodplain right now, and they can tolerate some flooding. And every once in a while, if we get a big rain in the winter, this area will flood a little bit. The water recedes fairly quickly, so they can tolerate some flooding. They like deep, moist soils. This is a flat area. It's just, I mean, I can't think of a better spot in Western Washington for black walnuts other than this specific spot is a little bit too wet, I think, but we're going to try it anyway. I've got a total of about 6 or 7 acres here that I'm going to plant, and probably 5 of it is really nice for black walnuts. So we'll get them in the ground and we'll see what happens. Well, we've got our stuff all laid out here. We got walnuts in each hole. Might be hard to see on camera. But we just come by and tamp them down. And what it does is kind of cool. It actually husks them as well, which again, I don't know if that's a big deal or not. First, you got to find the walnut. There you go. Well, like this one here, there's a big husk, and you can just pound it down in there, and the husk stays on the surface. We'll come by and stomp on them and get them all put to bed for the winter. All right, so we're going to just see if these things germinate, and they're going to grow up, and they're going to be black walnuts, right? But what John Kelsey has kind of discovered and figured out, it's pretty easy to grow a black walnut tree. I mean, we're here in Western Washington. This isn't their native range, but they actually do grow pretty well here. And there's some really, really big black walnuts in Washington State. But to grow a walnut tree is you put it in the ground, it grows up into a big, huge funnel-shaped thing, and there's branches going everywhere. And if you're going to grow veneer wood, that is not what you want. You want a nice, straight stem, clear with no knots for as high as you can get. And so to do that, you have to kind of trick the black walnut tree into thinking that it's getting shaded out. It's about to get shaded out by the other trees. And so it wants to go straight up, get right to the light, get up there and get the branches up high where the light is. It doesn't expend any energy to get branches out sideways. And so the theory I'm going to try here is I'm going to plant this whole thing with cedar trees, Western red cedar trees. They grow really well here. They're native. It's a good cedar site. And once they get up to about 6, 8, 10 feet tall, I'm going to come in between those cedar trees that I plant 8, 10, 12 feet apart. And in the middle of that square, I'm going to start growing black walnuts. And so the cedar trees are going to be up tall. They're going to shade that black walnut, but not so much where it won't germinate. So hopefully there's enough light where the black walnut germinates. It starts coming up and it realizes, holy moly, there's shade all over the place. I got to get up to the canopy. And so as those cedar trees continue to grow up, it will constantly be shading that black walnut out, and the black walnut's going to expend all of its energy growing straight up through as high as it can get so it can get that light that the cedar trees are shading out. And so that's my whole theory. The problem is it's going to take me 10 years to figure out if it works. It just takes so long to get these things going. So I want to start by seeing if, one, I can germinate and grow black walnuts on site. So in the next year or two, I'll know that. Get that figured out. This coming spring, in about 6 months, I'm going to plant my cedars in here. And my theory is even if the black walnuts don't work out, cedar is a pretty valuable wood. It's a good cedar site. So I'll have my cedar forest here in 50 years that my kids can use as their retirement fund or something. But if I can kind of do a combination where I have the cedar trees growing, the black walnuts, if they succeed and come up and have these nice big veneer quality stems, then I get kind of a double whammy where I have the cedar trees that I can slowly thin out and release the black walnuts and let them grow. And I'll have the black walnut stems that are going to be much more valuable than the cedar in the long run. So that's my plan, kind of long-winded, but over the years I'll be giving updates on this channel about how my black walnut plantation's doing, in addition to all my other stuff, my sawmill stuff and my chainsaw mill and the 50 acres down in Skagit County. So stay tuned for all that. But I hope you guys enjoyed this video, maybe learned something. I'm going to go plant the rest of my 200 or so black walnut seeds and then check back here in a little while and we'll figure out if I can actually germinate and grow black walnuts on my site.